Hello, my name is Sam Feltham and welcome to this very special edition of Expert Interviews with myself. Bit weird, I know. But over the past week, I've interviewed 3 people who have a slightly different perspective on why we get fat and what to do about it. First up, Stefan Guillenet, who's an obesity researcher. Second up was Evelyn Kosa, aka Carbsane, who's a blogger on this subject matter. And then finally, Dr. David Katz, who's director of Yale Prevention Research Centre. Although I don't agree with everything they had to say, I certainly learned a few things and agreed with some of their points. So, do calories count? Well, yes and no. Calories count in as much as that's the physics of the issue of gaining weight and losing weight. If someone is getting heavier, they'll be storing more calories, and if someone is getting lighter, they'll be losing more calories. However, in the traditional sense of simply subtracting 500 calories from one's total daily energy expenditure, I'd say no. What's really interesting from all these interviews is that all 3 of them don't count calories themselves and don't think that people need to in order to lose weight. If losing weight was purely about the total calories that you consume, then it'd be easy. You'd simply subtract 500 calories from your diet or burn 500 calories through exercise and boom, you're 1/7 of a pound lighter a day. Something that even Dr. Katz pointed out doesn't work. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. I'm not saying that quantity doesn't count, it does. But there are multiple variables at play in this crazy calorie formula, and far too many to actually create an accurate formula for weight loss and gain. The way that quantity does count, in my eyes at least, is its total contribution to the biochemical reaction load on the body. In other words, 100 calories of bread or meat will have a smaller biochemical reaction to 1,000 calories of bread or meat. But the 2 different foods create different reactions. One of the biggest problems with this whole calorie debate comes down to semantics. The phrase "you will gain weight if you consume more than you expend" is one that rolls off the tongue of many calorie purists. A more appropriate statement is "you will gain weight if you store more than you expend," which again tells us the physics of the problem and is a rather obvious thing to observe about someone that is getting heavier. The question is, why are you storing more body fat than you're losing? Is it because of the total calories you consumed and or expended, or is it because of the total biochemical reaction load on the body created from the quality and quantity of foods and drinks that you consume? For me, the answer is the latter, and from the interviews of the past week, I'd say they somewhat agree with me. I call this total biochemical reaction load the biochemical balance of the body. There are 2 examples of evidence I'd like to use. Firstly, when I spoke to Stefan Guillenet, he spoke about overfeeding studies, which show that when you overfeed different people the same amount, they will gain different amounts of weight. A prime example of this is by Claude Bouchard, who did a study of overfeeding 12 pairs of twins. I know those are mice, but this was with humans, but that was a pretty good picture, I thought. And they were fed 1,000 calories a day, 6 days a week, for 100 days under 24-hour surveillance. The range of weight gain for participants was from 4.3 kilos to 13.3 kilos. If calories counted in the traditional sense, then all of the participants should have put on 10.90909090909091 kilograms. This tells us that different people react differently to the same amount of calories, similar to my own overfeeding self-experiments that showed different foods of the same total calories consumed made me store different amounts of fat. Again, an important distinction to make is that I consumed the same amount of calories, but because of the different biochemical balance created in my body to the different foods, I stored different amounts of weight. Basically, biochemistry leads and physics follows. Please don't take this to mean I think you can eat as much as you want on a low carb, high fat diet and not put on any weight. It is possible to put on weight with a low carb, high fat diet if the flux of fatty acids into fat cells exceeds the flux out of the fat cells. One of the main ways this can occur is from eating too much dietary fat for your body to handle. This fatty acid ceiling is different for everyone depending on previous metabolic damage done, amount and type of exercise, genetics and gender. Which brings me to my second example that is more of a biochemical balance issue rather than a calorie issue. In my second interview with Evelyn, we spoke about the differences between men and women during puberty. A healthy woman will come out of puberty with more body fat than a healthy man, no matter what they do, as you can see in the picture here. Even at age 10, girls have 6% more body fat than boys do. Is this all down to calories? Yes, in terms of the physics or the amount of calories stored, but no in terms of the amount of total calories consumed. Female physiology drives them to store more body fat. Just like different foods will drive you to store more calories as body fat depending on the aforementioned variables and then some. I'm not saying that everyone will be best suited to a low carb, high fat diet of real foods, but it is the most obvious place to start in reducing someone's weight and helping them become healthy based on the multiple randomized controlled trials over the past 15 years that have shown this to be true. Having said that, some people may do better on a high carb, low fat diet of real foods depending on those aforementioned variables, as everyone is biochemically individual. Having even said that, that is most probably a minority. My bottom line is quality and quantity counts. But just because you eat less doesn't necessarily mean you'll store less body fat. And just because you eat more doesn't necessarily mean you'll store more body fat. You must take into account the different biochemical reactions from different foods alongside the quantity of that food. The issue of storing less body fat is more about creating the right biochemical balance in the body through the quality and quantity of food, which in turn will make you store less body fat and, if you weigh less, a calorie deficit by definition. Rather than focusing on making a superficial calorie deficit using fake foods that could create a biochemical imbalance and make you store more body fat, putting you in a calorie surplus despite being in this superficial calorie deficit, hence why some folks go on a low calorie diet and either don't lose any weight at all or even put on a little bit of weight. The one thing that we all agree on is to focus on the quality by eating real food, and the quantity will mostly look after itself. I've been Sam Feltham. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/smashthefat. Follow me on Twitter at Sam Feltham, and finally be sure to subscribe to this very YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/smashthefat, and you can get plenty more of what I think is valuable information. Be well, and of course, smash it out.